This video we basically discuss on the heat treatment. So the purpose of the heat treatment is that we try to change the crystalline structure. So when we change the crystalline structure on that particular metal stock, and because of that we get the change, enhancement or decrement of the properties of any metal. So by the help of the heat treatment process, we create an impact on the structural form or the crystal structure, and because of that we get like enhancement or the decrement of the properties of that any kind of metal. So this is the basic aim of the heat treatment process. Now, actually, the heat treatment itself, it is a broad category. So, heat treatment is actually mainly performed for a bulk material. So, for a bulk material, we perform the heat treatment, and for a particular the surface property enhancement, that time we basically goes for the like the case hardening, the coating we basically applied. So the case-hardening and the chemical coating. So chemical coating in like the mechanical paint we have, and the oxidizing layer we can apply it. So this. The main purpose of the paint and the oxidation layer is it basically increase the corrosion resistance property in a very localized manner, and a very localized form we go for the heat treatment like the oxy fuel we get basically the gas we basically use for for actually the enhancement the properties in a very localized manner. So enhancement is the properties in a very localized manner. We basically use the oxy fuel gas. So first I talk about the heat treatment process, then I go for the case hardening, and then the chemical paint and the oxidation layer, and last the oxy fuel gas process. So we talk all of this one by one. So first the case hardening. So this is the case hardening. If I talk about the case hardening first, in a particular case hardening we applied the carbon, nitrogen, or the combination of carbon and nitrogen, or the combination of the carbon and nitrogen into the particular depth of that particular metal. So if we have a particular metal stock, and here we basically apply the carbon or the nitrogen or the combination of the carbon and nitrogen both on the particular depth or the certain depth of that particular the metal stock. Okay, so this is the main purpose of the case hardening. So when we applied the carbon over here or the nitrogen over here, so these basically create an impact on the properties in a very localized manner. And but we our main intention is that to add the carbon and the nitrogen in a certain depth, in a particular certain depth. What is the depth? The minimum one. In a carburizing, we basically add carburizing what we add the carbon on the particular metal surface up to the 150 to 300 mm, and the nitriding we basically add the nitrogen, only carbon. In a carburizing we add the only carbon, and a nitriding we add the only nitrogen on the particular surface up to a certain depth, what depth 150 to 300 mm. So this is all about the case hardening. Next we basically talk about the heat treatment processes and its impact on the crystalline structure. Into the cyaniting, what actually happened, we basically add the carbon and nitrogen both, but into the molten cyanide. Over here we dip that particular the metal surface into the molten cyanide, then we add the carbon and the nitrogen both on that particular molten cyanide. We basically add that carbon and nitrogen on that particular liquid metal into the molten cyanide, and the carbonitriding, we basically add the carbon and nitrogen both as a combination, carbon and nitrogen as a combination we applied into that particular metal stock. But into the cyanide we basically add the carbon and nitrogen itself. By combination we add the carbon and nitrogen into the particular the metal surface, and it is basically deep into the molten cyanide.